All right, so this is podcast number 2. This is really, honestly, this is the brain trust. So we've got, we'll go alphabetical order. We've got JJ Boyd, and
Hello.
JJ's coming out of God's country up there where there's nothing but banjo music and sheep.
There's some cows.
There's some cows too. And then we've got, so say hi, JJ. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name's JJ, and I love wireless. That's about it. And routers, thanks to Greg. Greg and Andrew kind of got me nerdy into the router world. I grew up around wireless, ham radio operator my entire life, most of my child and adult life, and just love anything to do with wireless, and incorporating that into data is kind of how I'm making my living these days.
Yeah, so JJ grew up near like a terrestrial satellite sort of thing, right? I think your dad ran the satellites that like did the communications for the Apollo missions.
Yeah, there was some of that stuff going on. So it's kind of one of those things that they still do some mission stuff. So it's cool stuff.
Got burnt into him at an early age.
Oh yeah, yeah. So JJ probably knew more about wireless before he hit puberty than I'll ever know in my life. So I'm not even gonna try. And then we've got Andrew Cox, which is our resident Aussie. Kind of. Well, I say you're the only Australian I know, so we'll just say it that way.
The best of them.
Yeah, everybody knows Andrew.
Too.
Everybody knows Andrew. What exactly? So you're pretty much like the network guy for one of the largest ISPs in Australia, right? Like, or you guys do like management for students and stuff, right?
Not at all. We're probably the largest provider of student accommodation internet in Australia at this time, to the best of my knowledge. That's the department I work in, but the company I work for does a lot of private wireless links, so business to business stuff and IP transit for some customers as well.
Very cool.
That was yeah, that's my area.
What can you do on a gig link up here in North Carolina?
Well, there's this new product I've heard of called Airfiber.
All right. So
we'll get to that later.
Before we get to that, we've got Justin Wilson, which is probably the bravest guy I know because I see new pictures of him climbing towers just about every other day. He's up there, like doing his grocery list, hanging up several hundred feet. By the time I would be nearly frozen in fear, I think. I've climbed a few towers a few times, and I'm probably going to do it again in the future, but I can't say I like it. Like this kid. And just to give you a little taste of it, Justin actually proposed to his wife up on top of a grain elevator. Was that what it was?
Yep, a grain elevator here in Indiana, 150 feet in the air.
That's great.
So it's got to tell you, there's obviously something wrong with the guy. And if anybody out there has ever asked me, I need a guy to climb towers, I always say, call Justin. So definitely give him a holler. So JJ and Justin are definitely huge wireless guys. I'm definitely more on the wired side. Andrew, I think you probably do more on the wired side too, right?
Wired and hotspot stuff. So
which is most
crazy
likely
scripting.
Oh yeah, you're nutty, dude. Which is most likely why JJ and Justin went up to the Ubiquity conference. What was that? Was that last Friday?
Yeah, last Friday.
All right, and today's March 27th. What is today? Tuesday. So it was just the other day. So there were a ton of announcements at this thing. Really only one that anybody's interested in at this point, though. And that's obviously, as Andrew mentioned, the Airfiber. So for me, actually JJ made some predictions beforehand, and he was almost spot on, which is creepy, to say the least.
I can imagine JJ and Zoltar, the fortune telling booth.
For sure. I just don't ask JJ when you're gonna die. You don't need to know that. There's some things you just don't need to know.
Facebook knows that already.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. All right, JJ. So I guess first give us kind of your impressions of the conference. You know, just as a whole. Let's just kind of start out and then we'll go in. So what'd you think about the conference overall?
I thought overall it was great. I kind of like the last one, you know, that when we were all together in Vegas, you know, Ubiquiti kind of showed up and Mikrotik was already there, and it was kind of like, oh, we're gonna make routers now, and you know, I'll never forget, you know, telling Giannis, did you just hear what they said? And he's like, oh, it's a steep mountain, and you were there, right, Greg?
I have no idea.
You were there.
I was in the presentation when they announced that. I skipped out on one of the Mikrotik talks because I wanted to see what was going on.
Yeah, I did. I thought you meant when Giannis said that, but yeah, I did see them announce the Edge OS thing.
Gotcha. Well, this one, the most impressive thing, you know, everybody took away from this was, of course, Airfiber. Essentially, if you've not seen the video yet, it's a 0IF 24 gigahertz radio product that it's just incredible. You know, they say it's going to do 1.4 gigabits at up to 10 miles, which if it does that, that's incredible. I think the only place you're going to be able to do that is like in Iran or I'm
someplace
with no water
super quiet.
in the air.
Yeah.
Yes.
One question, since you just mentioned it, is why would they say 1.4 gigabits when it's only got a gig interface on it?
Well, because that's going to be an aggregate. It's just like the rest of their marketing material. Or
so you slice that in half?
Yeah, you're going to basically slice that in half. But they've kind of coined this new term called HDD, hybrid division duplexing, is I think what they called it. It's essentially, the best I understand it at this point, they're syncing the radios to GPS, and then they're using MIMO. They're using the smaller antenna on the bottom. If you've not seen the design, it's got a larger antenna up top, which is a receive antenna, and a smaller one on the bottom. And they're shooting the 24 gigahertz out of the bottom antenna. Then the top antenna on the other side is the receive antenna, so they have more gain to get around all of the FCC and whoever the other regulatory bodies are. Don't really care about them because they're in other countries. But so they've got all this magic sauce in there that they call HDD. So they're magic sauce. That's all. I mean, they got Airmax as kind of their magic sauce over there on their M series stuff. But the 24 gigahertz stuff, best I can tell, and what I've kind of listened to all the engineers say, there's a picture of the design. They're going to be able to do about 700 megabits full duplex on links. They say up to 8 miles. I'd say 8 miles, 8 to 10 miles. In reality, you're going to be around the QAM 250 or the QAM 16 modulation, so it's going to take you down to like 200 megs or so. The engineer did say, what was his name? Gary Schultz, I think was his name. He did say that it should do about 200 megabits on the low end, and then 1.4.
It won't connect anything less than 200 meg.
Gotcha. So at minimum, you look at that's 200 meg full duplex. So you're able to send 200.
I'm not quite sure how they're going to chop it up yet. I think when it's in its HDD mode, I think it's got 3 modes, best I could tell. In HDD, it's 50-50. So you got half of your time, airtime, for your airtime going this way. And I think with TDD, it can aggregate that data however you kind of set it up. But I've not got to play with it yet. Maybe I'll get to see more soon. I'm not sure.
So you
very veiled response of something JJ can't talk about, I'm sure.
Well, Ubiquiti is always so secretive on their marketing.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? Mikrotik is just as guilty. I mean, nobody saw the CCR coming, and just all of a sudden, hey, we've got this huge thing that we've obviously spent a lot of development time on. I mean, they're all going to play this game, I assume.
Yeah, they always say it'll be available soon.
They are taking pre-orders. I mean, Ubiquiti is taking pre-orders right now.
I did see that pop today, and they said right at $3,000. But then it had kind of like an asterisk that once we actually figure out how much it's going to cost to deliver, we'll adjust the price accordingly.
Maybe they'll adjust it down.
Why? Who knows? Who knows? But still, $3,000 for that kind of
that's
throughput sounds really good.
Oh yeah, that's not bad at all. I think in the real world where you've actually got rainfall, unless you're deploying this thing in the desert in Africa or out in Nevada or down there where the kangaroos live, I'm pretty sure that 3 to 5 miles is where the thing is going to be actually usable. I'd say if you start going beyond that, if you have moderate to severe rainfall, or you live somewhere if you live close to a rainforest like in the Congo, like that guy that did that presentation last year I don't see it working too well for him. He'd be lucky to go a mile or two, because as soon as it starts raining, it's going to start fading. And then even in the desert, you're going to have thermal fade from just all the heat rising off of but it wouldn't be quite as bad.
Yeah, we installed several 24 gigahertz Sargon links for a school corporation several years ago, and their longest link was 3 miles, and they had 2-foot dishes on each end, and it would fade. It would definitely fade when it rained.
Okay, so being this high in the range, you're definitely going to be susceptible to line of sight, right? So you really don't want any spring leaves jumping in front of your path, right?
Oh,
Nope,
one
not
leaf,
at
it'd be
all.
game over. It'd be like I mean, I bet if you walk in front of it and do a happy dance, you're gonna see, I don't know, probably probably about 30 decibels of rejection.
So you're saying, like, if birds are perching on the top of this thing, you're probably going to have some loss.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where you just put barbed wire fence across the top of it.
What is it?
Electrify it?
the little spikes.
Yeah.
What is it, JJ? 11 gigahertz is raindrop size, so 24 gigahertz is basically twice as small as a raindrop.
Yeah, it's tiny. Like the actual wave, like the full wavelength is, I don't know the exact dimension of it off the top of my head, but it's I think it's millimeter waves at that point. They don't measure them in centimeters anymore. They measure them in millimeters. So,
Yep.
it's little bitty stuff. And then the problem with that is you're still emitting a lot of RF energy. So you're still, you still have a microwave radiator. So it would be easy to say, oh, just crank the power up, but you don't want to be cooking people's innards when they're working with this stuff. So.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, the dishes on these guys don't look that large. Like,
the pictures are kind of deceiving. They're actually, I'd say, what is that in diameter, Justin? About 17 inches or so, the top dish?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
oh, so it's nearly 2 feet.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. The pictures are, deceiving.
Okay. How did you guys actually get to pick one up?
Yeah, it was an empty shell. Like, first thing everybody did was like threw them up on the stage and was like, oh, let's take the bottom off and start taking it apart, and it's like, hey, there's nothing in here. That.
They could at least stuff some candy like a piñata.
Yeah.
Something I couldn't see on any of the diagrams or anything. Where does the Ethernet connections go into, and is it just Ethernet, or is there what's available on the bottom there at the moment?
There's 3 Ethernet ports. There's 2 gigabit ports, and then there's 1 out-of-band management port. And I don't think they ever gave us a straight answer on whether that out-of-band management port can be used as a 3rd Ethernet port or not. I don't think you can create a bridge interface and bridge it back in.
So if you've got 2 gig NICs, does that mean both of those are active for the radio? You can use them, or are they just kind of a failover sort of thing?
I would assume that it's just like on the nano stations. If you guys have used them, they'll have an interface where you go in and say, I want PoE on this. But I don't think they'll do PoE on the second interface, because this guy runs at 48 volts and it uses about 50 watts. So there's no way you could run 100 watts through a single Ethernet cable, up the tower. So you wouldn't be able to run 2 radios. So I'm not quite sure what the...
Yeah, it's running it like an amp.
Yeah.
Like 48 volts.
I think the PoE, the data sheet on the PoE is like 1.4 amps or something at 48 volts. And when I was talking to one of the guys there, they told me that it is a proprietary PoE, so it's not like to 3AFs.
What do they call it? It's like the ghost PoE or ghost power. How they get it into a gigabit link. So it's proprietary even on top of that.
Phantom.
Phantom. There you go.
Yeah.
One man's ghost is another man's phantom.
There you go.
I just did a quick search. Just to answer the question we were looking at before, it looks like it's about a 12mm wave.
Okay.
So
That is
it's
really small.
Good shit.
compared to your regular stuff.
Good
Good
shit.
for cooking innards.
Shoot it.
Yeah.
Shoot it through a tin can if you're good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tiny stuff.
The other thing, I was gonna say, the other thing I was a bit disappointed at is they appear to only be allowing those pre-orders from the US at the moment. So
Yeah.
might end up having to get one of you guys to pick one up for me.
Oh, is there a piece of equipment you can't get before us? Is that a problem, Andrew?
Oh,
Speaking
now
of
he's gonna
pieces of
hold up.
equipment- Yeah, I was gonna say, look what I have here.
God, I hate you. Australians get all the cool stuff.
It doesn't have the SFP ports on it, so whatever.
No, no SFP, the USB. I noticed they have gone they have changed the design slightly. So rather than having different cases for each, there's actually cutouts behind here, and it's just a little plastic cover.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's the same thing they started doing on the 750 cases.
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
look
for
what
the-
I got. I mean,
it's
just had, yeah.
751.
I'm just being facetious.
You're being ridiculous.
Yeah, well, look, you're talking about this Airfiber. I don't see one there with you.
That's because you can't show it. You just, NDA.
I'm talking across it right now. I'm just kidding. I've never even seen a real one.
Yeah.
I can only look at it and wish I had one.
Yeah.
So-
So I know on the bottom of this guy, it has the 2 gig, the 1 management, and then it's got kind of like a little segmented LCD, so it actually shows numbers instead of the little signal meter anymore, which I guess it's going to give you a lot more accurate results, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's also for people that have ever tried to dial in a 24 gigahertz link. You don't just loosen a couple bolts and go, move the antenna. I mean, it would, moving it. I mean, with the 11 millimeter wave, as you just looked up, you move the dish this much and it's like a mile. So they did a coarse and fine adjustment on the back of it. So it's like with the SAF links. I set up one of those a while back. There's like a fine adjustment. You just put like a wrench on it and give that thing a couple whirls, and it barely moves. So you've got the fine adjustment, but the numbers on the bottom, the one we looked at didn't have the circuit board in it, so we didn't. The only reason I know that it has that is because in the video and and the other materials. But that would be nice, to be up on the tower.
Is it, JJ, do you know, I heard somewhere, and on the data sheet, I think it says it has a tone port, like on some of the canopy backhauls and stuff.
I did not see that.
Oh, so like you hook in some headphones kind of thing, and it makes it audible?
I could definitely see them doing that because it is the canopy guys that made it, so...
Yeah, as JJ pointed out to me earlier, he knew that they had gotten some Motorola guys. He didn't realize that they actually hired the entire Canopy team.
Yeah, that was just insane. It was like, I love the way Ubiquiti does their shows. They're like, oh, here's all of our software engineers, and then they do the presentation, and they're like, okay, get them.
Yeah, yeah, throw them to the wolves.
So that's great. It's like, you got some people that ask some really great questions, and you got other people that's like, did they hire somebody to ask that question? It's like,
Oh, it's so perfect. Just lobbing up softballs. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
One additional thing. I know it's GPS synchronization. Is there an external antenna on that, or is it just built into the unit somewhere?
I was wondering the same thing. When I was tapping on it, I don't know if the unit that they had there is the actual extrusion they're going to use. I was tapping on the top of it. It's either extremely thin aluminum or aluminium for Andrew. And it's either extremely thin aluminum or I don't know. It kind of felt plasticky to me. I'm not
Really?
sure. That could have just been,
Maybe powder coat or something.
Did you tap on it, Justin?
Yeah, it seemed you're right. It was very thin, and I think I heard somewhere someone saying that GPS was built in, and I don't know if they meant that the receiver was built in, or that it was just a part of the board and there was an external antenna.
That's curious. And so I know GPS with Ubiquiti is kind of a 4-letter word right now. But yeah, as JJ was pointing out again, this is the Motorola guys. So
yeah, the one of the comments was once these were the Airfiber guys saying this, they jokingly said, well, once we're done with this, we'll help the other guys on GPS.
Tell them all the things they were doing wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard that too. I don't know if I was staying with you, but I was talking to one of the Airfiber guys, and they seemed to indicate that there was another meeting that would ensue that would address that very thing. So
crazy.
Because I think they somewhat got it working on the 5 gigahertz stuff.
Yeah, they really changed their tune at this show. They said they gave you more criteria now. They said, okay, GPS doesn't work in noisy environments, and that's the first time I'd ever heard them officially say that.
Wow, so that's almost kind of admitting a weakness.
Yeah, and I think it's it's like a lot of things. It's all about expectations. If you don't have very good RF links, nothing's going to help it.
I think once they get AirBeam going, though, they get that going where you've got, the 7 beams, the beam steering and all that wackiness with the GPS sync. I think you'll even be able to take these weaker, what would normally be a weaker signal, and it would perform much better. And I think there's so much misinformation out there on how the GPS sync works. I think ultimately what people are doing is taking and throwing up, like a 4-sector array with 4 90-degree sectors and throwing them all on the same frequency, and then putting their backhaul on the same frequency, maybe 2 or 3 backhauls coming into this tower on the same frequency, and saying, it's GPS sync, so I'm good. Well, not exactly. So, but they were kind of going over some of that, like north-south, east-west links. So put your north sector and your south sector on one frequency, and then your east-west on the same frequency. And then if you've got backhaul pointing this way and a backhaul pointing this way, as long as you've got rear rejection or rejection to the back, where you're like, I think their antennas they advertise to be 30 decibels down to the back, so you'd be 60 down back to back from 0. You would have much better luck with the GPS sync. And I think there's just so much maybe misinformation, or since it is a newer technology,
and it didn't work right to begin with, so
right.
People got turned off on it.
I'm trying. Okay, I was trying to avoid that.
Yeah,
but you know what,
I will be blacklisted tomorrow by Ubiquiti.
No, and you know what? I got to give them credit. They did admit they were having problems. They said, "Look, we know it's an issue. We're working on it." And so, I mean, they were fairly transparent about it. So.
And they said early on, hey, we stopped shipping it. So, a lot of companies won't do that. Let's just keep shipping it and fix it later.
There was a guy there that, said, I've got this 2.4 gigahertz GPS stuff up on a tower, and, basically, what the heck do you want me to do with it now? And Ben Moore said, send me an email or give me a call, and I'll take care of you. I don't know what that means. It's probably like, oh, that sucks for you. But
he whacked the guy and threw him out in the lake. That's what it was.
All right, he'd take care of it.
Yeah, so the Airfiber, what do you really see as the sweet spot for that? You're saying 3 to 5 miles is probably really as far as anybody really wants to go with it?
I would say so. If you have rainfall, I couldn't see myself in my market deploying it anywhere except maybe connecting, doing away with some fiber point-to-point links for some companies that maybe are leasing them. I don't see me putting it on a backhaul. Like, my shortest backhaul is like, I don't know, about 8 miles, 8 to 12 miles.
Yeah, you're ridiculous.
I I don't do anything that's less than 12 miles, I don't think. I mean, I've got clients that are 12 miles away from a point-to-multipoint antenna. So, oh, that's another thing that they announced, kind of jumping around here. I do that. But the titanium stuff, the new sector, I was really impressed with the new sector. It's completely metal design. There's no plastic whatsoever on it. And it's adjustable. You know, it's got a 60, 90, and 120 adjustments.
That's weird. So hang on to that really quick. So let's put the Airfiber to bed. So you're looking at 3 to 5 miles for a link. We're looking at 1.4 gigabits is what they're saying. Would you use this for mission critical link? I thought I heard you say no. After some testing. Well, how about, obviously, if you live in Seattle and you get rainfall 5 days a week, you're not going to deploy this mission critical, right?
Probably
only across the street.
Yeah.
Across the street. Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody is going to put this in, say, a mission critical position, they're still going to have just below it a 5 gigahertz backup. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah. I think this is the proving grounds for their technology, and I think we'll see it. They seem to be pretty. The Airfiber team seem to, want to tell people or get it out there that this is the beginning of this product line. So I think we will see it in other operating at other frequencies. So,
oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So this is just the entry point for this product.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made certain to let everybody know that this is a software-based radio and the design is easily changeable.
Okay, so I heard him say that, but I didn't know exactly where you were
It's
going.
firmware defined. Be careful with that software defined thing.
True.
So,
Gotcha. Okay, so at least right now, it's kind of a wait and see. You're a little bit leery, not necessarily mission critical, but connectivity wise, as long as you have some kind of a backup path.
Another thing I want to throw out there is most of these guys, like the Saragons of the world, they're all doing TDM 24 gigahertz links. They're kind of focusing at the OC3 level, the fractional T3. They want to be able to do these TDM legacy things across it. Where most people today are like, give me some Ethernet, give me some Metro E. They don't need any of that.
Right.
That Sonnet stuff or.
Yeah.
So they're going that direction.
And you're seeing a lot of the big boys actually do kind of transitionary technologies, like the Dragon Waves. They'll do Ethernet, but then they'll also have like interfaces for those legacy TDMs, so you can plug in on one side, Ethernet and TDM, and then when it pops out on the other, you've got your Ethernet and TDM. So it's they're, I guess, kind of trying to satisfy the best of the best of both worlds. I guess do really well. A little bit of both, and I guess probably transitioning everybody over time.
Yeah, and since I've not seen the product run and I know nothing about it except here it is and here's the data sheet and do you want to buy one? I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now.
Gotcha. All right. So we put that one to bed. So you were talking about the new adjustable antennas, the new sectors.
Heck yeah, those are nice. I gotta get me some of those. Be hanging them everywhere.
If you read the forums, a lot of times guys are wanting the smaller beam widths so they can tighten up their signals and and especially in the noise environments. And so far, Ubiquiti has only had 120s and 90s, and that's been it.
More specifically, if you read Justin's posts on the forum, you will see that.
I have towers out there where we have 6 5.8 sectors on the tower and 6 2.4 sectors on the tower, all at 120 degrees fighting each other.
Wow, that's nutty.
You just gotta get that GPS sync working, you'll be ready to go.
Yeah, and I mean nobody can say that Ubiquiti doesn't make a quality antenna, because I know plenty of people running Ubiquitis off of their antennas, and then Mikrotiks, plugging their Mikrotiks right into the Ubiquiti antennas. So everybody likes them. So this is just an upgrade, right?
A guy Greg in Ohio, that he's running. Yep, he's running the Ubiquitics on the Ubiquiti sectors, and I know guys who are running Trango 900 on the Ubiquiti sectors, and they love them.
They definitely went out and hired some of the best antenna nerds on the planet. I mean, it was just like, I'm gonna have you, and I'm gonna have you. So I think when it comes to the antenna design, they've got it nailed. So
Nothing a little money can't fix.
exactly.
Just chunk it at some people. Stuff will happen. So these guys are adjustable, you said, between 60 and 120, so to go 60, 90, 120?
Yeah, we don't know any gain numbers. I would suspect. I know that the rejection is going to be better because it's an all-metal design. So I don't know if you've seen those shield kits that are being sold for the Ubiquiti antennas. There's this guy I think he's out of Pittsburgh, RF Armor, I think. He should send us some money now. But just kidding.
Wink.
Yeah. He makes these shields that go on the back of them, and he's got all the rod up. You basically see better rejection off of, like if you've got co-located antennas and you've got one off this side of the tower and one off this side of the tower, you put his stuff on it, and all of a sudden, you know, they can't see each other as loud as they did before.
Gotcha. So it's basically just a metal cone you affix to the back of these things.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a shield. I mean, it's like,
yeah.
What does he call the product?
You were right. It's RF Armor.
Okay. I used them on one deployment. He makes some like pole mounts too, and I've used those, and I like those pretty. You know, he's got some pretty nice machining going on over there. So
if these guys are all metal, how much weight's that going to add? I mean, Justin, how likely are you going to want to drag 3 of these hooked to you up a tower?
Not very likely.
I didn't think so.
The Ubiquiti sectors as is are heavy enough.
Oh, God, I installed some 900s, and it was like flying a small aircraft up that tower.
Yes. It's when you think metal, there, it's pot metal from what I would call it. It's good quality stuff, but it's still lightweight metal. They've done a good
I think
job
it's
at
lighter than the old one. I went today. I have a couple of 5 gigahertz sectors at the store, and I just went in and picked them up. And I really think that the new one is not as heavy as the older style, the first gens, if we will. So
that's cool.
That's my opinion so far. But I think it's nice now, because I walked in today and I'm like, well, I've got 90-degree sectors here and 120-degree sectors over here. So now you only have to have one SKU.
You just stock one thing on the shelf.
Yeah, and you just grab one and go.
That's cool. I know the distributors are going to like that.
Certainly. Oh, they also got the titanium bullet and the titanium rockets. We didn't hear a peep out of. I think I heard Justin ask him about the 3x3 MIMO radios. I think the exact quote was no update on that.
Yes.
So when you're saying the titanium bullet, is that basically just the bullet with a metal case?
Yeah, it's kind of like the groove metal or whatever they're calling it.
They're just calling it metal, I think.
It's got I think a slightly faster processor.
Oh, okay. So they did upgrade the internals a little bit. I know the what is it? The metal, the Mikrotik metal. I think they're saying it's 1.4 watts, which I think accounts for all of the fins in the case. It's just basically one giant heat sink, Which, I mean, it's clever if it's there.
Titanium versus metal.
I wonder if we'll actually see that with FCC top acceptance, like Part 15 acceptance in the U.S. Because ERP
allows interference and all that stuff. So you're talking about?
It's just the unlicensed stuff. Like all this stuff that we are using is used under Part 15, so you don't have to have a license. And if they, I don't know how they could sell that over here. I mean, you just have to screw a dummy load on it and say, okay, now I'm legal, which is no antenna basically. Because 1.3 watts, I don't know of anybody that's selling a 1.3 watt 2.4 gigahertz transmitter that is legal ERP. So.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they could, if they ever got in hot water about it, they could always do the software handicap the same way Ubiquiti started doing.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate, but.
The thing I didn't like about the titaniums, and this is from a personal perspective, in our current WISP, we've spent a lot of money on DC up the tower. We're running 12 and 24 volt DC up the tower. Now all of a sudden they're 48 volt.
Yeah, what is that about? Why? I mean, I wonder the wizards are smart. I wonder where they came up with. Let's just make it 48 volt.
The volt. Well, I think it comes down to voltage is how hard electricity is pushing up the line. So I guess in theory it's going to travel further. Something like that.
I mean, it used to be all the, and Cisco still kind of adheres to this. The PoE standard is 48 volt. So, and almost everybody else in the world kind of got away from that. Now Ubiquity's going back to it after the market has, kind of settled on 24 and 12 and 18 volt. And then they're like, oh, guess what? We're going to go back to the way it was before.
Especially like me, I've got a lot of solar deployments. So now what am I going to do? It's kind of like, oh,
I see what you're saying.
Now
you'll just have to change your battery complement a little bit. But I know it might be signaling some new equipment. Sometimes manufacturers like to stick with just a single type of component. That way every PoE brick they manufacture from now on is 48. Maybe some new radios down the line are going to just require that extra. I mean, like, the extra amperage coming out of the Airfiber. Maybe it's just they just.
Well, I think it's going to be even
yet
a different one. Like it's its own PoE. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I think that it's its own.
Just to sell some more adapters.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that is it.
Well,
I've got a bunch of the old AP1s. I don't know if you guys ever seen those. It's like one of the first products Ubiquity made. They deployed them with the SkyPilot stuff. It was a mesh product. It was basically just two radios, and you ad hoc'd them, and it just sort of worked. Not really,
Yeah.
but and it had 48 volt PoEs. So.
Well, I did notice that Mikrotik's now selling this little adapter box that comes in 48 volt and then kicks it down to, I think, 24 volts. So there you go. So it doesn't matter. You can just buy the little Mikrotik adapter.
Ubiquity's had that for
just
like
can't
2
go
years.
the other way.
They call it the AF adapter, or what do they call that thing?
So
Yeah,
I
think it kicks it. I think it takes in AF compatible.
Yeah.
Or
And
non-standard.
You can get 24 to 48 volt up converters that go DC to DC. It adds a little heat to the mix because nothing's perfect. But guys
What do
that
they
have
call
seen
those buck converters or buck something or others?
something
DC to
like
DC
that.
converters. Yeah, they in a solar thing, anytime you're burning heat off, you're just wasting that energy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're going to lose amperage. Anytime you're going to do a conversion, you're going to lose efficiency to heat. It's inevitable. It's always happening.
I don't like, the dude telling me at 4 o'clock in the morning my solar side's down. It's terrible.
Breaks your heart.
Breaks my heart.
All right, so moving down on your post list, I see the ToughSwitch update. So what's new and different than what was heard at Vegas?
In Vegas, the only thing they showed us was an 8-port DC version, and this was the AC version. If you look at it, it's actually got a ground port on it. So, like the DC version will just take like one of those little barrel jacks, and you plug it in. It runs off like one of those wall warts.
Yeah.
And this version actually has its own built-in power supply. I'm trying to remember what they said on the wattage. It'll do 8 1-amp devices, so
The AC version will actually do PoE out of it, right?
Gotcha.
Right, it will.
And I'm assuming this is manageable, right? So you can log in and toggle ports on and off and stuff.
Yeah, and they said it would do AF and 24 volt, and it's independent. Whoa, what
There
just
we go.
happened to Andrew? Got a twin.
And it'll do VLANs, QoS, all the stuff you expect out of a managed switch.
Right.
I think they said that it would only handle 4 VLANs. Wasn't that what they didn't say that this past time, but I think they said that in Vegas. That it was only capable of the chipset was capable of 4 VLANs.
Oh, okay.
What just
There you
happened?
go.
That's weird.
Andrew's getting all cool on us.
Oh, how'd
I
you do
just
that? You
pulled
gotta
up
teach
a
me that.
photo of the ToughSwitch.
Yeah, that's great.
Browsing your blog here.
Oh, look at that.
Bring up the awesome picture of JJ holding the Switch. That's what I want to see. That's what the people want to see, honestly.
Yeah, boy. Matt actually took that Switch. Matt Hardy, photog
Yeah.
extraordinaire.
And
So did you?
his first words to JJ were, "I want to see this on your blog."
So did you guys get anything free at this thing?
We got an Aircam dome,
Oh, okay.
which I installed a couple of mine at my office today. I wound up with like 4 of them. I mean, not that I like went through the line 4 times. I just took
Right.
these guys
You just jump people in the parking lot. Gotcha.
yeah. You know, I'm
Okay.
a scavenger. I stayed behind and was like, who left theirs?
You just wait
Oh.
for people to pass out. So so that's you with a ToughSwitch. So is this dome camera? Is this the new?
Is my web
that-
server that slow over there? What is up with that?
I think it's that slow everywhere, JJ. Something wrong with your internet out there.
Well, welcome to my internet, my home internet.
Oh.
So the Aircam, is that the HD one that does the 1080p? The new one that they were talking about?
The one that he just had up on the screen, the Aircam dome that they sent home with us is just the one that I think they wanted to put some more of them out there because the software still leaves something to be desired.
Yeah, I think. Tell us about the system you were trying to run it on again.
I've got a quad core i7 and I had 4 cameras at 720p and in some of the earlier NVR releases it was choking it. I did install today. I formatted the entire machine and put ESXi on it, and then installed Ubuntu server on it. I think 11.10 or something, and got it running the NVR 1.1.0, and then I installed the AirVision on another Xenon machine that I have ESXi on, and it seems to be running pretty good so far. But like I told it to pre-buffer and pad, you know, they got all these little different variables you can do, and it kept replaying the same like 4 seconds of video over and over and over. So the software is getting there. It's definitely a huge improvement over what I seen right after Vegas. So.
Gotcha. So didn't they say they're going to be rewriting it from scratch?
Yeah, I think they use ZoneMinder for the NVR software right now.
Really? Which is an open source DVR system based for security.
Yes, and it's kind of they're rewriting it from scratch,
which is good. It's good.
It's very good. Though I think they're going to bring it in house and kind of do it themselves. I think they kind of brought on some more on that development team, and they realized that it is a beta product.
Gotcha. Which is unfortunate because I mean it's
the cameras are awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty cool kind of niche market. I mean you can get kind of here in the States at least you can get kind of a cheapo DVR, 8 cameras, everything wired with like a 500 gig hard drive in it, you know, that does the regular motion sensing, all that stuff, and you can get those for about $750 to $800.
But those aren't HD cameras though. So
no, they aren't. They're just going to be kind
standard.
of just your standard camera.
And I have a camera
Ethernet.
system, and yeah, exactly. Andrew got it right. They're not Ethernet. I have 4 cameras with, like Greg says, a 500 gig hard drive, DVR, and things. And I'm dreading running, coax and the DC cable. I need to do it, but if it was Cat 5, I would have done it.
Yeah. Usually for stuff like that, we end up. We call it Siamese cable. It's basically a coax that's got the 2 power leads already molded into the cable, and you just run that. But it's kind of a pain in the butt. Like I've got a cousin who owns some storage places, where it's just basically
yeah, I've seen him on that new TV show. What is that?
He was the one that only had 2 teeth left. He was that
Gotcha.
guy. No, but he owns some storage, and so it would be. I mean, these would be great to to drop with just like an AP kind of in a centralized location, and then bring those cameras back. You know what I mean? Because those places are just, that's what they are. They're big, spread out, and you just need to look down these big corridors. And so, I mean, this would be perfect for that, you know, as
Right
opposed
now-
to trying to cable coax physically to all these locations.
Right now, I gotta say is if they want to do more than about 10 cameras, they're gonna need a rack of equipment. So, like
So there you
quad
go.
core xenons out the wazoo. But they say they're gonna fix that. They say they were trying to target um, atoms on the rewrite. So, like little Intel atoms.
Right,
They
right,
said
right.
they should be able to do about 4 cameras. I think they said 4 cameras on a little atom. So,
That's not too bad.
or more. They were kind of, I don't know. I don't have any video of it, but I think they said 4 to 6 cameras. Did you guys try the one that you guys got?
I only plugged it in and just watched it for a minute. And said,
I-
yep, it works.
I set mine up a couple of times, ran it up. I obviously didn't have any problems with one camera, but seems like the software seemed good. It just obviously doesn't scale at the moment.
Yeah.
I will agree, though. The interface is great. There's also no hard drive management. So if your hard drive gets full, it's just like, I'm full. And then that's the end of it. So you can't
That's
say,
unfortunate.
okay, when you get full, start deleting old stuff. You know?
Right, just start writing over the top of the old stuff, which would be,
Yeah.
which would be good, and maybe some kind of like archiving mechanism where you can send a little bit of it offsite or something like that.
I have a lot of faith in the product, though. You know, cameras are not my core business, but it's something that, you know, who doesn't like, you know, watching every little thing, you know.
Yeah, I know at the data center, security is always, you know, I mean, it's always like a primary concern out there, and so we do a lot of DVR systems, and we usually use embedded appliances like Bosch DVRs, and to be honest with you, we still use wired cameras, even though we've got a pretty big campus, because as much of a pain in the butt as it is to get the cabling there, they just work always. You know, you never have to worry about them. You know, somebody error disabling a port on your switch doesn't make your cameras quit working. You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
it's things like that they're just tanks at that point. You know, they just go.
You'd almost want a whole separate infrastructure just for the cameras if you were going to be real serious about it. So,
Well, I mean, and you know what? And that's not that expensive to do. You know,
So-
so it wouldn't be that big a deal.
but the Aircam Pro, just kind of running down it real quick. I think they said it was going to have a heating element for frost. It's going to have a Tamron lens. It says auto
Really?
zoom. I'm not quite sure what auto zoom means, and I think it said auto zoom. What does that say? Tamron lens, 3x optical zoom, full-time autofocus. So not
Okay.
auto zoom, but autofocus. So that's
Oh, and
pretty slick.
they're gonna have IR, right? So some infrared illumination.
Yeah, they've got infrared illumination. It's going to be all aluminum and glass. I'm just kind of reading off the slide that they put up there. They really didn't say a whole lot about it other than here's a picture of it and read the slide and next. So I don't think it's that close to. I think they kind of just got the mechanical design done. They didn't have one there for us to look at. So I don't know how far out this is. I would say from what I've experienced so far, probably looking at about a year. So
Okay, so JJ, your takeaway from the event, what's your favorite thing that you saw?
I would definitely have to say the Airfiber, just because it's such a radically different direction for them to go. I mean, it's their own thing from the ground up. It's not, oh, here's an Atheros chip and here's some of our own intellectual property on top of it. They built it from the ground up. So that kind of shows me that they have what it takes to go to the next level.
That's cool. All right, Justin, what's your take? What was your favorite thing? What'd you think about the conference?
The pizza was the favorite thing.
Oh, the Chicago.
Pizza.
That's right. You guys were in Chicago, man. So
Yeah.
you did the deep dish, right?
Yep. No, seriously, the thing I got from it is in the products, you know, you can read about the products online and all that stuff, but actually the Ubiquiti guys actually are they're down to earth people you can talk to. I went up to Matt a couple times and say, hey Matt, I'm running into this. One of the things that several guys ran into was, hey, I'm having problems with RMAs. I'm having problems with this and that, and they're like, hey, we have an answer for you. Let's talk about it. And you were actually able to talk to them face to face, and they were, they're not these lofty, people.
Gotcha. So they're regular guys.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So for those who don't know, who is Matt?
Matt Hardy, JJ is the Ubiquity insider, so he can. Matt
I'm
is
not at all.
JJ's got to be on the payroll by now.
No, not at all.
No little sponsored by Ubiquity logo down the bottom.
He does it tattoo right there. Says Ubiquity.
Hey, look, I mean, not today.
I like any product that makes me money.
I got you.
Exactly. I'm the same way, Matt. But to answer that question, Matt, I think he's kind of the official forum gatekeeper kind of guy. He's kind of like the point man for the
Yeah, he's
forum.
kind of the face of Ubiquity for a lot of people.
Yeah. If you have a
Customer
problem,
excuses manager.
yeah, there you go. He's kind of he's just a public face for the company. He's kind of, if you have a problem on the forum, it's, hey, talk to this guy first, and then he's kind of like your front line of contact with the company.
Okay.
It's kind of unique, to see a company that's at this point become publicly traded on our stock market, and you can still kind of get to those top level people.
Well, you know what? I think that experience is. I think for one, it is unique, but I think it also speaks to really the level of skill you guys have and experience in the market. Because not everybody can just say, "Hey, I know the guy who owns Ubiquity by first name, on a first name basis," And Justin, not everybody can just say, "Yeah, I talked to Matt and he's gonna hook me up with his stuff. He's gonna," So
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys are really big and active in the community, which to me is really cool because the guys that are active in the community are the ones who really care, and they're listening to you guys. It's a proven fact that Ubiquity is listening to at least the squeaky wheels. You guys, the feedback is there. They're really listening to people, which is
I've never
I think
seen them
cool.
wear one of my T-shirts.
Do you have a T-shirt? Maybe that's step one, is to create a T-shirt, JJ.
That's probably step one.
Uh-huh.
I could just take it like a bed sheet, make a cape.
cape with a U on the back.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, and speaking of, obviously, there's two players that we know and love, and that's Mikrotik and Ubiquity. And so you guys were talking about how Ubiquity's a small company. Mikrotik is definitely a small company, but you can somewhat develop that kind of personalized experience with those guys. I think it's a obviously it's a culture difference for us.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing.
Yeah, but you also they kind of have a thick candy shell that you have to there's nougat inside. You just have to get in there, like Giannis terrified me the entire Train the Trainers, and then he's like the coolest guy now, but he puts on that game face for sure, and I'm not gonna do an impression of him right now because it's been so long since I've heard him, but dude, I was knocking it out of the park. Now it's just gonna come off like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's just he's not, nobody's gonna appreciate that, but definitely that's a small group of guys, and you can actually get a hold of them and talk to them, which is pretty cool. Although I'm not sure, I know Andrew had the Mikrotik guys walking up and actually saying, "Hey, Andrew," it's like nobody knows me by first name. I'm just saying, that'd be nice skill of recognition every now and then. But
well, they got to now. He, I don't know how to say his name. Was it Normandus?
Normans?
Normans. Okay. Yeah. He's wearing your shirt. Was that picture from Poland?
That was. And I had to pay him an incredible amount to pull that off. It was ridiculous.
It obviously wasn't the real Normus though. Like he's got his His beard's gone. It's just
I
changed.
those long flowing locks.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh
That
god.
he had like the Baywatch hair, and he's running slow motion. It would bounce.
He's
And
lost his source of power.
It was. It was. Occasionally, he would just out of nowhere, he would just whip his hair, kind of give it the toss. You know what I'm talking about.
Thanks for not scrolling down any further on my blog there, Andrew.
Some ridiculous pictures.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the mum announcement?
Oh, the one
For
in
the
New
New Orleans.
I think that's cool because it's actually it's kind of close to me in Texas. It's actually like a 7-something hour drive, and I've never been on an epic road trip like that. So I think
Okay.
I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna make my wife come with me, and we're gonna go a little bit early. But so this is either the first of many road trips or the first and last road trip. We'll see how it goes.
Well, it's 13 hours for me to get to Chicago, so.
That's well, you flew, so it's not so bad.
Right. Well, we wound up driving actually.
Did
so-
you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there was more of us that went than we anticipated. So there was 4 of us that went, and we only had 2 plane tickets. So we called up the airport, and they did refund most of the money. So
That's cool.
which
Interesting.
is okay.
That's cool. Yeah.
But-
I
Yeah,
don't.
for those of you who don't know listening, I just found it on Greg's blog today. How long's it been announced?
I think they announced. Yeah, just the day I posted up was the day they announced it.
Okay, so just a couple days.
Oh, it hadn't been long at all. Yeah.
It's September 27th through the 28th in New Orleans.
Yeah, September. So that's still a good ways away. And
Very tempted.
you are
Just
not.
check
don't
my
lie to me.
holidays and see.
Don't lie to me, Andrew. Don't play with my emotions like that. But thinking of like, I have no idea what they can actually announce. There, I think they're saying that the CCR is going to be available this summer. I think that's kind of, I don't know.
Street
Maybe?
price on that? Any
They
new
actually-
updates?
They know nothing, but they did put up like cloudcorerouter.com, which is almost as good as putting it up on routerboard.com, I think. So maybe it's kind of a reality. So because to me, a product doesn't exist until it's actually on a web page from the manufacturer, right? So
I was going to say they've removed it from there's no, obviously it's not a router board branding anymore. So maybe maybe this is just the first of a line of cloud core or CCR boards.
the new stuff doing the and speaking of Tylera, the what everybody is pretty sure is the CPU manufacturer. Andrew got a correction on his blog today from some employee at Tylera. So he didn't say
Director of marketing.
There you go. So he didn't say no. This isn't what they're definitely not using this in the product. He just corrected what Andrew had said. So so to me that's probably pretty safe assumption.
Yeah.
That
It's a pretty safe assumption they've been talking at some point. So
yeah. So that's
the other thing
interesting.
is they've still got wiggle room in those processors as well. If they do decide they're going to bring out something better afterwards, maybe something with 10 gig, the 10 gig SFPs or something. There's steps they can go in the next device, which is also good.
This is just, so I like honestly I can't imagine what they would announce. Like what different or new thing could they announce? You know what I have noticed, and I maybe it's just me, but it seems like they've been focusing more on wired equipment lately, focusing more on infrastructure to do with wired equipment in Router OS as well, which personally I like because I'm a wired guy as opposed to a wireless guy. But I've seen kind of that. I don't know. It feels like kind of a weird shift towards the wired side, and then you see Ubiquiti is only wireless, and now they're trying to make kind of this weird little Edge OS shift towards wired. So it's kind of I don't know, maybe a preemptive strike or something.
It's interesting mentioning the push towards wired stuff. I mean, we mentioned the other day the assumptions about how the new device will handle processing and the fact that it is a huge multi-core system. I had to send out a support ticket last night to Mikrotik, and I noticed the autoresponder at the moment has details I'll just read it out from here. Currently, V511 and above, all x86 crashes, reboots, halts are related to two things. One, resource management and complex setups on multi-core systems, and it's got a couple of temporary solutions. Two, interface driver problems. So I guess there's a lot more work going into making everything work with multi-core systems at the moment, which hopefully won't result in too many more bugs in the near future.
So you're saying stay 5.11 or below, or 5.10 or below?
I'd say 5.7 was the one that I kind of settled on as being a good stable. So.
Yeah. I'm like 5.14 on everything, so that's why I'm having so many problems.
You don't run any X. You run one x86.
Yeah, one. Well, I've got.
It seems to be fine with the router boards.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like Mikrotik's completely ignoring the wireless stuff. It seems like they're responding to the market, so they're making cheaper router boards. You know, the RB400L series. I mean, you can see like the Ethernet connectors now like all plastic. They've dumped all of the serial interfaces. They're just making them. Yeah,
2011 is an NTU, and it's like $100. So.
Exactly. So they're really, I mean, they're dropping prices, which is good. They're kind of responding to what some of the competition's doing, and making a design that's, you know, what some people are interested. You know, kind of the bullet slash groove slash metal is going on there. Cat, go away.
I like the you guys mentioned it in the first podcast about the making the setup easier. Being in the ISP world, dealing with consumers, the biggest problem we have is routers, the consumer grade routers. You know, person goes out and buys a $200 gaming router and they have to reboot it once a week.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to be able to put Mikrotiks at every customer and say, hey, you guys go out and buy this, but the problem is they can't set it up.
That's what. See, that's an advantage. They have to call you, and then you extract money from them.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I could see.
I don't want to call from 20,000 students.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I'm trying to think of a good way. Like, if a dude had some kind of. Well, I guess you can scan with a dude and find a bunch of Mikrotiks out on the network. And then just administer them that way. You just kind of pop it. But I mean, beyond a default config, are you guys actually putting public IPs out on these radios? Are they?
No way.
Our network is not, but we're running triple PoE, and you know there is a little bit of, you know, and then you know if they want a wireless router, they got to have a, you know, their unique SSID because they don't know, you know, what, you know, default means or, you know, any of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think I called it simple setup, but I think it's actually called quick setup or something like that. Quick set. There you go. Quick set. It does.
So is that like a wizard for like the DHCP server? You know, you just click on it and it's like.
It's basically a single pane interface that's got the most common configurations in it. You know, so you can just kind of set everything up in one. One thing I would like to see for the simple setup is for them to do something for like NV2, you know, because there's so many options, you know, maybe just like a drop down list that says, you know, NV2, you know, with these optimizations is generally what people run, and then here and then here and then here, you know, just something like that. Because I see just a lot of confusion because there's so many options, you know, in there with the single chain running multiple chains, you know, and just.
Well, see, coming from the wireless world, you know, to me that's like, oh, this is easy, you know, but when I go into the, you know, like the MPLS stuff, I'm like, what is all this, you know?
Oh yeah. Well,
So I'll plug this in. And I'll see if I can get you up a page of the quick set.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
In a moment.
But yeah, still, just I don't know. It almost seems like with every fifth update, something like that, there's new optimizations you can make, you know, so they'll change a little tweak setting in there that's not on by default, but it really behooves you to turn this on. And so if you don't always constantly read the forums and keep up with that, sometimes you'll miss that stuff, you know. And so if they
that's very true.
If they just built that in there, It would make
You'll
so
have it
much
set
easier.
one way in your config, and the default in the next release is actually to have it set the other way. So your config will stay as is, and the next radio you put out, oh look, it seems to work better with that one.
You just assume it's because you bought a new one, so you got to go buy all new ones now.
So the SFP version of that 2011, when is it going to be available? Because I definitely see myself using that on some of these tall towers. So,
Yeah, I say it. Cat, good night.
and are they
They
making
wouldn't
an
get internet without a
SFP?
cat.
Pause, Greg.
module?
Yeah. Buzzing.
They-
I know the. To me, the SFP version doesn't exist till it's on routerboard.com.
Yeah.
So.
There's definitely been pictures of an SFP version. There was one at the mum. I saw a couple of people tweeting photos of that, and same one had the USB ports and everything as well. And obviously, there's on the board. I've taken a couple of pictures. There's definitely space for it, but yeah, obviously no release date for it yet. That is the one that I'm really looking forward to, because that sort of thing. Currently, where we're deploying switches after you do a wireless install, you have a Cisco switch or a Allied Telesys switch there, connecting to customer equipment. Replacing those with something like this would be amazing. You've got a gigabit connection or a fiber connection. Some of our radios do fiber. Just being able to say, well, here's your $1,000 layer 3 switch that we have here that does all these fancy things. Let's replace it with a router that does all the same things and gives us the Mikrotik interface and the ability to do all our own testing. So
Yeah.
So have they announced anything as far as I know that I think both of you guys were wanting to see some accelerated support or some kind of support contracts coming out of Mikrotik?
Well, you know what? There's a lot of customers I talk to that I'll do Cisco work for, which is, I mean, Cisco's my bread and butter. That's my day-to-day. I do that all day long. And, you know, I'll talk to somebody about maybe their remote locations, you know, these Mikrotik devices. And, you know, they've got a tiny DSL connection. I say, well, here's a 750 that's $35. You know, you don't have to put, you know, a $1,500 router out there. It'll work just as fine. And they'll, you know, but their company, some of these companies, they have a policy that if you have a piece of equipment, you have to have support on it from the manufacturer. It's just, that's their company policy. And I have to tell them, well, that's not available here. So
Yeah, some of my clients are, you know, little single and, you know, little telephone companies, and they're not used to not having a support contract on a piece of hardware.
yeah.
Yep. We'll keep pushing them on it. I mean, it's obviously, yeah, same sort of thing. If we're going for a contract with a company, you want to be putting equipment in that list that says, yes, we have a 4-hour response time from the creators of this, the manufacturers, or some sort of support contract that says they will fix it or they will help us find a workaround.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
That said,
software is more than the hardware, I think, because their hardware is cheap enough. I just had a client replaced a Cisco something, and it was a $11,000 Cisco, and they replaced it with a $2,000 x86 Mikrotik. Well, they bought 2 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that, I do conversions actually pretty regularly. BGP conversions are my favorite. I love replacing border routers. But a lot of people, they do want to use x86 systems. And to me, I think if Mikrotik does actually offer support, they're not going to do it on anything but router board hardware. Because, I mean, you're going to run in driver inconsistencies, incompatibility with hardware, and you just can't keep up with it, you know?
Well, what was it, a couple years ago they came out with these are the approved systems, and that, I think that got muddied there. And if they would have, hey, you pay us X number of dollars a year to be a part of this program, and then, we have to certify it at that point, I think that would be a nice way to go.
Well,
Yeah,
I've heard them say, oh, we only make router boards now, that's not exactly how they said it. They said, I heard somebody ask a question about x86, and they say, in not so many words, we're going to make router boards. so don't ask us any x86 questions. That was kind of the attitude.
Well, I mean,
So.
I can't fault them for that, you know, honestly. But you know what? It seems like to me their answer now is, oh, you want x86 systems? Buy the CCR. You know, just with the enormous amount of power in there.
So let me get this straight. They end of lifed the RB750G, and then they come out with this RB2011, which is almost as good. It's just got some more ports.
It's about 80 megahertz lower on the clock speed.
What's that about?
So it's like a 750G, only they threw in 5 extra 10100 ports on a set of ASICs.
Did Atheros quit making that CPU, or did Atheros end of life that CPU?
And I don't know how accurate.
CPU that they used.
Yeah, and I don't know how accurate.
When they spoke about it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
You go. I was going to say when they spoke about it originally, they said it was actually a completely new Atheros CPU that they were putting in this one. They were working on compared to the old one. So they reckon the performance would be the same on the new system, regardless of the fact that it was slightly different CPU. So
okay. Yeah, and if you look at I know between the 750 GL. Right, the successor to the 750G, it's a lower clock speed, but the performance was kind of close, so it wasn't, you know, like the throughput and all that stuff. It was relatively close-ish. Yeah.
I'm looking on one of the U.S. resellers right now, and this is verbatim off of this particular website. RB2011 features affordability for homes and FTTX installations, SFP port. I'm like, but
it doesn't have the SFP.
It doesn't have one. So the picture of the one is the one that Andrew has there.
Okay, I guess they just have it wrong.
Does that have a barrel connector that goes into it? I mean, you guys have some wacky power, but
it does. It has a barrel connector, but the plug is actually locked in place, which is one of the interesting design aspects of it. Like I'll just unplug this one here. The way the case is made is the power is actually locked in, so you can't accidentally pull it out or anything. Might have to adjust you can see here. Basically, the wires coming straight out of it. The actual barrel connector is inside.
Oh,
and
weird.
It's locked in with the case, so. I'm not really sure what the reasoning behind that was, other than stopping it being pulled out. But
gotcha. So it comes shipped to you just like that?
Well, obviously this one would have been changed. I'm assuming this one would have been changed by our local distributor to give it a 240 volt power supply, because we have these funny ones, obviously. But yeah, there's an extra cutout there, which I'm assuming is possibly for direct connection or maybe an integrated power supply. I do recall they said that there was going to be a unit with an integrated power supply, so you just connect a cable up. I'm hoping they go with something like just an IEC plug on the back of one of the rack-mounted units. So that makes it simple. But yeah, I'm honestly not sure why they decided to do that.
So are they? I know that the original version of that, I seen it had like this, I don't know, it almost looked like something that it snapped into.
Oh, it's a little kind of a cradle that it snaps into. That's the cable protector and everything.
Gotcha.
Wall mount tray and cable lock.
Are they going to make
that?
Does it have a mini PCI inside of it, or?
I think they're making a wireless version.
Okay.
They are making a wireless version. I'll just show you a bit of the board here if I can get this case off. Basically, there's space on the board for the SFP. There's space on the board where you can see they're going to put a radio in there. And for the full-size versions, the rack-mounted versions, I would assume they'd put the power supply inside as well. So, just holding up the board here, you can see up here there's space for radio. There's actually little punch-outs on the back of the top half of the case as well. Over the other side here, you can see SFP point, and there's a little point for USB as well. That's the barrel jack just sitting in the middle of the board there. So,
That's
yeah.
interesting.
I think
So, does it actually lock onto the wire so you really can't pull it out, or is it more of an aesthetic?
Yeah, it's physically locked in place. I mean, there's the little slot the wire goes up in, and here's the plug that's used in this one. So obviously you're not going to be able to pull that out in any way, so without taking the case off.
I do have a 750G in a rack that's co-located space, and I find that gets unplugged quite frequently. They're in there monkeying around with other people's equipment.
Usually what we do is on the 750Gs. I mean, it's mounted a little different. What is this thing? This is an old dead 450. But what we do is those little square sticky tabs for zip ties. We'll pop one right here. We'll pop a square zip tie holder right there, and then run the cable, and then just lock that baby down. That way it doesn't move.
It looks like there's a on the board here. There's actually a position for another power mounting of some sort, just below where the barrel jack is. It's actually marked with plus and minus there, so maybe there's something that'll come out on the rack mounted version. The only other thing I can fault with this one at the moment is the fact that in my case, the actual jack that's connected in here, you can see is slightly longer than the board. So it's actually kind of jammed in there at the moment, whether that's just that the supplier needs to change the plug. But given, well, this is a standard plug that I'm looking at, so I'm going to have to search around and find something a bit shorter. It's a bit of a pain, but I mean, it fits in there. That other point at the back looks like a mount for an SD card or something, a micro SD card. So I've got wireless points, card, SFP, second power connector, and that looks like it. And then your regular JTAG connections.
For like initial programming, I guess.
Yeah, I tried to get the quick set up. It doesn't look like they've got quick set ready for this yet. I have a copy of 5.15 I've been playing around with, but it works on my 433. So you get the quick set options there for AP, bridge, whether it's configured using PPPoE, DHCP, or static. So I'll try and get a picture of that up on my blog later on. If I did it now, I'd have to disconnect myself.
Hey Andrew, where'd you get 5.15?
The Mikrotik website, obviously.
I hate you guys with your little secrets.
Must be on the Australian version only, because I don't see a link here. Must be like the beta, the Diablo 3 beta. Yeah. Also, I forgot one other thing. Oh, that's terrible. Justin,
he's back.
His Mac crashed. What?
I didn't think that was possible.
I didn't either.
Oh man! Now I guess his Jetta and his espresso maker are probably gonna break down. I don't know what's going on.
Things are randomly going to combust.
Something else that I think the only thing that we skimmed over, talking about everything that happened at the Ubiquiti conference in Chicago this past week, was the Unifi Pro. It's going to be a dual band radio, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, 802.3 AF power, and dual firmware. Those were the things I took away from it. So they in the Unifi controller, whether you ask it to or not, it's like, oh, there's a new version of Unifi controller. Do you want to install it? Yeah, sure. And then it just automatically pushes the firmware out to all your APs. And it's like, I didn't ask it to do that.
Just a quick question on that. When you say dual firmware, do you mean they'll keep like an older revision to fall back to if the primary stops?
That's what I took away from it. So I think they have dual, maybe dual T-SOPs or something in there with the image on it. So if it does, if it would have bricked on you, then it didn't.
Yeah.
It just power cycling.
It's another company I could think of that might benefit from something like that.
Right?
Or you're upgrading something that's 100 miles away. And it
Yep. Had that happen before.
Or in JJ's case, at the top of a mountain somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. You can get Justin to climb it for you.
Oh no, JJ's mountains. He's got these cool little trolleys you get to ride in.
Only one. There's only one that's like that, but it's pretty intense. You can hike up the other side, but I don't like doing much hiking, obviously.
Because you're a wireless guy? Is that where you're getting with that? I don't understand the reference.
Oh no, I just I like the cheeseburgers and tater tots.
Overactive fork disease.
Overactive fork.
There you go.
All right, so you guys enjoyed the conference.
Yes.
You guys you're both going to the New Orleans Mom, right?
Yes, I just actually signed up today.
All right, sweet. I'm
pretty sure I'm going to be there. We kind of got a cruise planned with some friends of ours in September, and I don't know if Kim has any additional time off because she was wanting to come to this one with me. So
because you got in trouble.
Why would you take a cruise when you could be with your crew?
Buzzing.
Come on now,
Andrew, bringing bad puns to these videos since
I was just wondering how long you could hold out, brother. You didn't. You did good. You did really good. So let's
certainly
see.
going to try. It's still some ways off yet. I got plenty of time.
You got time to work on her.
Yeah.
All right. So Andrew will definitely be at home working. Did you at least put pants on for this?
I'm pointing at. I have pants on. I always have pants on. What are you talking about?
Okay.
I've been looking at the dates in the calendar and trying to work out if I'm going to have enough holidays off to come out.
That's ridiculous. You should
I
just
might do it.
save it up for 2013.
Yeah.
Although I'm gonna be there for a week. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna head down for a week, hang out.
To be honest, the main focus is really want to get there and actually see and if by that time they're released, have a go of one of the CCRs.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody wants to go for. So yeah, I guess, man, I think we pretty much put a bow on it, stick a fork in it. I think we're done on this one. JJ, any closing words?
Not at all. Just
Good.
good. What does that mean?
You're dead to me. I'm sick of you.
Oh,
I
I
just
can't
want
do
to say,
that. It's like
That's your task for next podcast. You have to learn.
I've tried it. How about that? Yeah.
It's good. Just use tape, dude. Nobody will be able to tell.
It'll be obvious. Every time
Right.
I move my hand, it'll
Just work on it.
Once again, if anyone has any specific things they'd like to ask us about, or any things they're having problems with they want us to review, please feel free to either send us emails or make posts on the blog, and we can follow it up in future videos.
I know.
Nice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just to the last video, there was one good comment. I'm trying to.
No.
Let me let me pull up the comment. What are you knowing about, dude? You don't even know where I'm going with this.
He knows exactly what he's pulling up.
All right, it
I'm just gonna leave
says.
for this
No,
bit.
just let me read it. It says, "You're both weirdos." You said it. Scary thing is, I'm responsible for one of you. And what's that strange
Thanks,
language
Mom.
you're speaking? Love you, Andrew. Mom. P.S. You need a haircut. What's that about?
She obviously saw your ruggedly handsome good looks and thought, why doesn't Andrew do
I'm
that?
very aerodynamic. That's what it is. I'm fast, dude. All right, Justin. What you got, brother?
I was going to say, I'll see if I can. The ISP America conference is going on this week in Orlando. You know, bunch of ISPs, mainly the WISPA people, are down there. I was going to see if we could. I'll talk to some people. Maybe we can have them on next time for 10 minutes or so, and they can give us a rundown. You know, some of the you know, the up and coming things down there.
That'd be cool. That'd be very cool. Yeah, I pretty much keep my head buried in the sand. I don't know about what's going on anywhere with anything. Mom sent me an email. That's the only reason I know that that's coming out. So cool. Well, guys, let's see. I don't think I have anything to talk about other than I'm jealous that you guys got to go to Chicago and I didn't. That's on the bucket list. Yeah, I'll go up there. I'll bootleg, do a little moonshining.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
I
And
only
then
one hobo, so.
you only that's because they that's what they put in the pizzas.
Well, I figure if you got to
Hobo
pay
toppings.
like $50 a knot to park somewhere, there's probably, you know, everybody's broke, you know, probably not much panhandling going on up there. It's like I seen one guy, that was it.
Cool. Well, again, so this, to me, this is the Brothers Wisp. This is where because I came up with it. It's kind of a play on words of the Brothers Grimm, but obviously all of us in the wireless industry. So when I thought the Brothers Wisp, it was actually these four guys right here in the video talking. So hopefully we'll be able to get you guys all together more often. I know Andrew, it's a lot harder, although this is like lunchtime for Andrew and it's like the middle of the night for us.
Yeah.
Although JJ and Justin don't have kids, so I don't give a crap about their schedules. They can work around me. Cool. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Any questions, comments, just hit us up. And really, thank you guys so much.
And give us topics.
For sure. Yeah. Otherwise, you just have to listen to us blather. It's horrible.
Today's episode brought to you by RouterOS version 5.15 and RB Yancat.
There you go. See, I know Andrew's got 1.5 because it's like it's already Wednesday for him, so he's just in the future.
Exactly.
He just lives slightly ahead of everybody else.
Have you seen those
Obviously,
terrible charter
buy
commercials?
shares in a... No, what?
The charter commercials they run in our region. I don't know if any of you guys have seen them, but they run this commercial where there's this guy. I mean, he probably looks like us, but he's standing on the international date line, and he's just selling tomorrow's internet today, and and yesterday's shirt. It's terrible. You have to just look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, I award you no points for that, JJ. All right, guys. So official sign off. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Says.
Goodbye.
Now I can dance.